Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Paradise Recreation and Park District Board of Directors regular meeting of August the 12th, 2026. Will you all please stand and join me in Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? What? Thank you, everyone. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Director John Stonebreaker.
Here.
Director Robert Anderson.
Here.
Secretary Jolene Levy is excused. Vice Chairperson Steve Rodwick.
Here.
And Chairperson Alma Green.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Welcome guests, everyone here this evening. After all these three items, we now have something that's extremely special this evening. Is there anybody here from the Centerville? There you are. Good. You're going to be giving us a special presentation on behalf of the Centerville Recreation and Historical Association. Are you Tim, by the way? By the way, we enjoy the newsletter. Just want you to know that. But please come to the podium and talk to us. Thank you.
There we go. All right. All right. Well, good evening. My name is Tim Calhoun. I'm the president at the Centerville Recreation and Historical Association. This past year, from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026, we held a number of events to aid in our community being able to communicate together and socialize. One of those events was an ice cream social in July. We're actually doing that again this year. It was a success. So this coming Saturday at 6:30, if you're interested, we're having the ice cream social at the Centerville Schoolhouse. We also, in September, we have an outdoor movie night for the community. This year we're doing Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, so it's goofy movies like that. But it's fun to have outdoors. It brings in the families and the kids to get involved. Every year we have a canyon cleanup as part of our public service. So in early October, it's usually the first weekend in October. We get usually, I'd say, between 30 or so canyon residents to come out, and everybody's assigned a different section of the road, and we clean up the canyon after the summer. You know, it gets to be a little bit trashy sometimes after the summer with the public using the creek. As far as our museums open Saturdays and Sundays 1 to 4 every weekend as much as we can. We're completely volunteer docents, and so every once in a while we miss a Saturday or something because we don't have a docent, but we're trying and we do as good a job as we can. And the museum covers the history of the canyon from the Native Americans, of course, the gold rush. Big part of our canyon history. But the families that stayed on in Butte Creek Canyon after the gold rush, they all had different types of agriculture operations and things like that. But every family had a gold mine as well. So if they weren't working their agriculture, they could work their gold mine. So all of that, the families, they all donated items from their barns and their attics, and so that's what fills our museum. It's all the real deal, the things that people used in the 19th century to get by, and all the way through the turn of the century when Butte Creek Canyon was a hotbed for hydroelectric activity. And in fact, Eugene DeSabla, you may know, was a co-founder of PG&E. So we highlight our hydroelectric history there. But this year, in past years, we've reprinted the Tailings of Butte Creek Canyon. That's the book that basically built our museum. The profits from that book built our museum back in 1970s, and so that had gone out of print and was up to about $400 a book on the internet to get a copy. And so now we've reprinted that book and provide that at an affordable price for Canyon residents. So, new Canyon residents, they can understand our history and where they get a sense of place of where they're living. But there's a new book out this year that John Westland was a fantastic historian for the Canyon, and he was quite a character as well, if anybody knew him. But they put together all of his stories, the tales of Butte Creek, fun and mostly true stories of Butte Creek Canyon. And so this book we've got partnered with the Westland family, and we're reprinting that this year. So we have an additional book for Canyon history. In March, we participated in Explore Butte's Museum Weekend, and we had, I think, about 170 folks from the public. And during that museum weekend, we bring out our 5.5-ounce nugget, and people can hold the nugget. The kids can hold the nugget and get a sense for what a special thing that is. It was found by a 9-year-old boy in 1972 in the canyon. So it's kind of a special item that the museum has, but we keep it in a safe deposit box because it's quite valuable today. Community outreach and fundraising. As far as outreach, we have the Centerville School Bell newsletter, which we send out every other month, and that usually has issues affecting the canyon. We've got in there all the events that are coming up, so people can be ready for those. And we also try to include some newspaper articles or some item from canyon history of interest. Things like the powerhouses and things like that. Are all of you getting newsletters? Yes. Okay, great. So our biggest event of the year is our 49er Fair. Unfortunately, I was on vacation this year to not be able to run the gold panning station there at the fair, but we do a number of things there. There's the gold panning, there's food, of course, and live music and crafts, and people do sort of pioneer type weaving and things like that to show how things were in the day. So the 49er Fair was extremely successful this year. We made about $9,000, and that just helps us to keep going. This year we had another year of tree limbs that were just about to fall on the schoolhouse, and we had to take care of those. And the tree that we had to actually trim was one that we know was planted in 1928 by two boys. We actually have a picture of the boys, the Reedy brothers, planting this tree in 1928. So we wanted to save the tree, so we just had to remove a limb. And so finally, we do a holiday gift sale with Santa every year. We bring in a fire truck, a local fire truck. It's an antique from one of our canyon residents, and Santa's there with the fire truck, and the kids get to be with Santa. So in conclusion, we really appreciate the partnership that we have with you, and want to invite you to come to the museum anytime. We'd love to have a special event and bring you down, or just come on a Saturday and come and see us. So thank you.
Do any of the board members have any comments or questions you want to share with Mr. Calhoun?
I was just curious, you're aware of our acquisition, just a little bit, a few yards down the street. Do you feel like there's a good, possibility for collaboration between the Park District and the Centerville Museum with regard to special events you have that we can help out?
Yeah, I just actually sent Dan an email this week offering our facility to have public meetings with Canyon residents and to talk about the new park and I think it's in such early stages right now, but I think it'd be great to have public feedback for that down in the canyon.
And I will say, it's in this era of a lot of information out there, not all of it really good. You guys have a great newsletter that has a good reach in the canyon, and Tim's offered, if we have information or host meetings, they'd welcome us to put stuff in there. I think that would be a great place to put it.
Yeah.
Well, if there are meetings regarding the Steel Bridge property, I would love to be informed. I did get to go down and attend the 49er fair and talk to some of my friends down in the canyon and look through the guest book and see everyone who'd signed, some from up here and a lot of people from way down below. It's always good to reconnect. So I have property on Nimshu Ridge, and the original homesteader was a gold miner who'd come up the hill from Centerville. His sister married the son of the toll gate keeper after the road was built. So I have a little bit of history and try to maintain that connection. Things I might want to say when the action item comes up, but I do hope that we can continue the partnership with your organization.
Great, thank you.
I too was at the 49er fair this year, and I have to agree with you, Tim. It was an extraordinary event, and I'm pleased to hear about the fundraising as a result of it. But it was a great day, I was really proud of our PRPD staff and volunteers that also interacted with your
Yeah.
volunteers there too.
We greatly appreciate PRPD staff to come and help, and they also help with our canyon cleanup, and
Yeah.
it's great.
Right, I understand that's October 3rd this year, so
Yeah.
we're looking
Yeah.
forward to that.
Again, thanks to Sophia and team for running that shuttle, because there is very limited parking next to the schoolhouse and museum. So allowing the people to park somewhere other than on the side of the canyon and get shuttled up to the event. We are glad that our staff was able to help with that.
Tim, I had a question for you. On the cleanup, we've been doing that with you guys for a couple of years. Is there anything new or different or something that you might want this year, some extra support with? I know we've had a presence there, and I know that's quite a undertaking for as much area as it is and the number of people, but is there anything in particular that would make life easier, make cleanup better?
Well, I mean, I have a great bunch of volunteer vice presidents that I have two vice presidents that are just incredible, and they do a good job in getting us containers with waste management. And we're good on things like picker-uppers and vests and things like that. It's fairly straightforward, but food and coffee is always something that's that's appreciated, or anything like that kind of thing. But yeah, and maybe putting it in the newsletter up here, maybe folks would come down.
Having it in conjunction, I mean, at the same weekend as Johnny Appleseed Day is problematic.
Yeah.
But I would just suggest, I mean, I would be willing to go down there on any random weekend, grab a bag and a picker and help clean up the creek. So maybe you can let people know that, it's not exclusive to this one weekend, and just keep the canyon clean.
Yeah, they actually do signups for sections, and so and people do the following day sometimes. So it's just kind of in and around that day.
Whenever there's low water.
Yeah.
So Tim, Mr. Calhoun, if you just be patient for a second. I asked for concurrence from my fellow board members, but with your concurrence, board members, I'd like us to, before we go into the remainder of the agenda, that we first take up item 6.1 under new business for the Centerville Recreation and Historical Association agreement.
Concur.
Okay, so we'll have staff give a brief presentation on that document and that agenda item, and then we'll interact with you, Tim, on your behalf with the association, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So, staff, you have anything you
Yeah,
want
thank
to
you,
add to the
Mr. Chair.
staff report
Yeah.
this afternoon?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So this
Thank
is
you.
on page 24. It starts as a short report. Just kind of lays out a little bit the recent history on it. This has been a long-standing agreement support we've had with CRHA. And the last round, we upped it to 6,000 per year. They're in installments. I was going to ask you, Tim, by the way, if quarterly is okay, or if you'd rather have an annual amount at the beginning. But, you know, I think that that's something I was going to ask you beforehand, if it matters to you or not. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
It is a little bit more.
Hash, yeah, okay, yeah. So anyway, there were a couple of differences in this agreement. So one is an extension of it. So we've been doing these in 2-year increments with a possibility of a written extension. This one we've extended out to 3 years. So just a little bit less effort, I think, for us to renew it. We still want to talk to Tim on an annual basis for the reports and just keeping it up to date. But I think that kind of makes it administratively simpler. And we've had a long-standing, very positive relationship with them. So I feel very comfortable with making it a 3-year term on it. I think there were a couple of changes that our attorney had made in here, but relatively minor. And we didn't change the scope of work that's described in back. So some of the things that we're exchanging and the services provided essentially remain the same. So we recommend that board moves to authorize district manager to complete the agreement with cooperator. And by the way, the legal counsel has reviewed the agreement.
Excellent. Okay, I have to ask you this, staff. Has a copy of this agreement been provided to Mr. Calhoun and his association folks?
Yes, the original, and then I think just today, yesterday, the revised version we just got from the attorney, so we forwarded that to Tim.
Very good. And Mr. Calhoun, is your association in agreement with this proposed agreement?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak to this agenda item? Judging by the silence, apparently not. So we'll bring it back to the board. I think we have a great recommendation, fellow board members. What's the pleasure of the board?
I just want to ask a couple questions first. One is that we apparently did not get a presentation last year. Was there an annual report that was submitted to staff? It doesn't appear that there was any CRHA item during my term. I looked at all the old agendas as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there was. I think that we had one fairly recently, or annual report, and then of course we do get the bi-monthly newsletters on a regular basis. So that gives a sense as to activities. I don't recall Tim getting one last year, but
Right. I couldn't find any evidence of one.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to check that. I mean, I do hope that we'll be hearing from CRHA annually going forward. And I also wanted to ask, who is the assigned district liaison to CRHA? Okay.
I
Would
think,
can
well,
oh, go ahead, Mr.
no,
Chair.
I was going to ask the staff if they recall, but you have to look it up. I don't know if we actually made one.
I think we had related to the kind of ad hoc we had for Butte, excuse
For
me,
the canyon.
Honey Run Covered Bridge. Butte Creek Canyon was kind of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same.
That was my
cohort,
impression.
So that would
but-
be,
It's L and I for Honey Run.
yeah, and my recollection is that was essentially a liaison for CRHA as well.
Okay.
So, I mean, if this is meant to be a board liaison rather than a staff liaison, should we assign that liaison in the adoption of this agreement or the recommendation for the district manager to complete the agreement?
No, I think it's something like our other ad hoc. We don't build them into the agreements necessarily.
Well,
But I think it's
okay.
not a bad idea if someone wants to keep the pulse on it. Our board's expressed a lot of interest and success of the organization. And, I don't see any harm in that, but I think that there's somebody said about having that liaison between us or between, essentially executive to executive on that, if there are things that come up or reminders that we need to do on the reports and stuff. But, I think we certainly be open if there are opportunities and I wouldn't restrict it either. So if there's different events that a board member would like to go to participate in,
Oh, sure.
and by all means.
Yeah, the question was just how, whether this is a staff position who's working with CRHA to help with these events, or whether it's a board position like there are with other agencies. So that was not clear to me in my reading.
Oh, I see. So what's worked really well, I think for probably 6 or 7 years now, has been us having volunteer efforts, and that's been staff oriented. We've certainly had Mary, for example, would participate in the cleanups and different events there. Al and Steve, I know
Right.
you've been to a number of events down in the canyon as well.
Right, yeah.
I think fit within the kind of like the staff structure makes sense and not a separate one. So if
Okay.
there's a interest in volunteering, yeah, by all means, connect with our staff and we'll plug you in.
I hesitate to volunteer people who aren't present, but I think Sophia would be a natural staff member.
She's been working down there a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has. Why
And
don't we,
it just varies, like certain things
Yeah.
I'll take the lead on, and then other things related to volunteer.
all right.
She just keeps me in the loop on them.
Point's well taken, John, but I don't think we have a need at this point in time to make it part and parcel of the agreement per se.
Well, I
Right.
just, it,
Let me finish, please.
go ahead.
I would just suggest we stay status quo, and then at the end of this calendar year, when it comes time to appointing board relationships, individually to organizations, we may want to acknowledge that separately as opposed to an ad hoc committee to the canyon as a whole, that type of thing, perhaps. And we'll see what the makeup of the board is then anyway. It might obviously be different with what's happening this year, but I don't know if the rest of the board agrees with that or yourself.
I think
but
That's reasonable. I just want to make sure that we've been holding up our end of the agreement over this previous.
we
time.
have. You're
Okay.
and
Glad to
actually
do.
more often than not, so has the Centerville folks. It's
Yeah.
just unfortunate that we didn't get a report last year, but that doesn't mean we didn't know what was going on. The newsletter has been very vital, quite frankly. It's packed with information, thanks to you, Tim, and your volunteers. But and historically, several of us, even though it's sporadic attendance, we do interact with folks in the canyon at events and other things like that. So, all right. Again, we need to entertain an action. Board members, let's entertain a motion, perhaps.
Mr. Chair, I authorize the district manager to complete the agreement with the Centerville Recreation and Historical Association.
Second.
I move to authorize the district manager
Good catch, Robert. Is
to
there a
complete the
second?
agreement as stated.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been made and seconded. Madam Clerk, we have a roll call vote, please.
Director John Stonebreaker,
Aye.
Director Robert Anderson,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Steve Rodwick,
Aye.
Chairperson Alma Green.
Aye.
Motion carries with 4 ayes.
Okay, that's passed. And thank you again, Mr. Calhoun. We appreciate your attendance this evening. Okay, at this point in time, we're going to move on to the regular format of the agenda. Next item is public comments. Is there anyone here in the audience this evening who wishes to dialogue with this board this evening on anything that's non-agenda related? If there's something you just want to express or report on or interact with, here's your opportunity, as long as it's not an agenda item. Okay, apparently not. So we'll move on. Consent agenda. We have 3 items on tonight's consent agenda. Board minutes of our last regular meeting of July 8th. The payment of bills and disbursements relative to the month of July. And last but not least, the safety committee minutes. Apparently they met this last month. All board members got staff reports or related documents on these 3 items. Do you have any questions before we entertain an action on the 3, or do you want any of them pulled off and acted upon separate?
I'm good.
Well, hearing the silence from my fellow board members, I think we should entertain a motion on all three items then.
Do we have staff or public to?
Well, is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak to consent agenda items? Or does staff want any of them pulled separately?
No.
Again, there's silence. So
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
okay, is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve all three consent agenda items. Again, Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Director John Stonebreaker,
Aye.
Director Robert Anderson,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Steve Rodwick,
Aye.
Chairperson Alma Green.
Aye.
Motion carries with 4 ayes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next item, committee reports. I think all the board members got a copy of a one-page report relative to the Rec and Park District Committee's meeting during the month of July. Do any board members have any questions on that? Or Robert, do you want anything to share other than what's written there this evening? Uh, Again, judging by the silence, apparently there's no questions on it, so I don't think we have to take an action of any type. It's just, basically, we'll just let the record show it was received and acknowledged. Moving on, item
Well,
5.
I'd like to mention that
Oh,
it's not mentioned in the brief that they're going to possibly do an MOA with us for the two sporting fields, the baseball field and the soccer field. I don't think that's mentioned
you're
in
talking about
here.
the charter school folks. Yeah,
Hmm?
the charter school folks.
Yeah.
We had a presentation from, maybe we should just, let's you and I share that, okay? Because it's not written up in the report that staff provided. So thank you for pointing that out, Robert. Robert and I, as a committee, we met with representatives of there's several charter schools on the ridge. This one in particular, I don't know their Achieve Charter School, and they're in the process of acquiring some land here in the town of Paradise, and they're quite proud of that fact, and they're moving forward on working on getting entitlements from the town of Paradise for that land use, and they're anticipating building a new school campus and field facilities. And they gave us an update on that at our committee level and indicated that if they do get approval to proceed with this and start working on establishing it, they look forward to possibly interacting with our district in the not too distant future to come up with MOUs and interactive agreements and usage of those facilities along with rec programming and activities. I think that's a plus potentially because we've had a history of doing that in the past with the Paradise Unified School District. So this would be huge if the charter school proceeds in that manner. They were very, very upfront about what their biggest obstacle, or I'll say just issue relative to that immediate area, and that is the state. There's a state highway there. That's the main access to this site, this property. And Caltrans is probably going to raise some issues that may or may not be, I won't say,
Problematic.
will be potentially problematic, but I'm not going to say that because we haven't seen the specifics yet, but that's going to be their biggest hurdle, quite frankly. We'll see how that goes, but. So stay tuned. We'll probably have more presentations over the ensuing couple of years or so, but and then we'll probably at some point in time, we'll ask them to come to the full board here and interact with us accordingly. So just want you all to know. Can you add anything to that, Robert? Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, let's move on then. Old business, first of which is item 5.1, organizational update, facility and event supervisor position. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So old business, but new position. So there's a couple of things that were left hanging at the last budget narrative. So one was our org chart, and then also this new position that we've envisioned as a facility and event supervisor. So this would be essentially a hybrid that would be between the facility side and maintenance, parks maintenance, and then also on the recreation side, especially events related to our facilities. So this is after a considerable amount of time of working on this, have a job description. There are a couple of changes, I think, minor changes that we have, and that certainly could be within tonight's action as well. We could have those changes listed out if we need to. But the idea is that we would set this in motion. It's been budgeted, and then recruit, and then have someone that would essentially their duties would start with the PCC. So there are a number of characterized as fairly technical challenges for us to embark on. So one is the kitchen for itself, getting that training up to speed, the right amount of certification for us as a operator, but also as people that come in and want to rent it. So I think there's what we see as a good opportunity for this position is after some time, it could help generate revenue. So it could help us with kind of expanding our revenue, making sure that the building remains busy. And then over the next few years, we have a number of facilities coming on board. So this would be a good time to kind of be handed a good challenge with this new position, and then kind of absorb things as they come on board. To support that, we have revised our updated salary schedule. That's also attached. And so what we're looking for tonight is any board discussion and direction. We have 3 items that we separated out. So one is the job description for the facility and event supervisor. Second was adopt the updated organization chart, and then adopt the updated salary schedule, of which the only change on there is the new position. Happy to answer any questions.
First question I have is, did you, staff, did you share this with the personnel committee board members?
We've submitted the materials. We've not been able to have a committee meeting.
Yeah, it's been problematic to by issues out of the district's control that we couldn't hold them. We couldn't get a quorum.
Well, Mr. Roderick, did you respond to the materials that you were provided at all? Give them input? On that committee?
I reviewed them. I didn't go into them in detail. I do have a question with regard to have we looked at similar positions at other recreation and park districts? And then they pretty much, did you go off those?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think that came up actually when we were discussing it in person, but it's unusual because it's sort of a hybrid position. But I think for our size organization, it makes sense. A lot of places, for example, larger districts will have a facilities person. So that's someone that is kind of in charge of that, and they would be tasked with things such as construction projects and building the facilities onto operating them. Other places, they'll even have job descriptions where they'll have a facility on the recreation side, a facility coordinator, and that person can be charged of programming that facility, but also kind of, if it's an open gym, keeping scheduling those times and that type of thing. We thought we have those elements in the organization to kind of do those. We have folks that are doing facility upkeep right now. This facility is an example. So this would provide, I think, a bit
Is the internet freaking?
This is a full-time position?
Yeah.
We did budget for this during this current fiscal year that's
We
in
did.
effect now. And we budgeted in such a way that you knew that you wouldn't have the position right away. The next question I ask is, have you already gone public with the job announcement?
Oh, heavens, no. So
Okay.
we've talked
That's
about
what I'd
it,
ask.
but we haven't started the recruitment because it's
All
not
right.
approved.
No, we haven't approved the position yet. Okay, good. Has
Awaiting board direction on
I
that.
realize that. Good. Has legal counsel reviewed that? This is a unique position. It's not exactly the same as any others, although it's similar in some respects. I think it's worth legal counsel review. I don't know how the rest of the board feels on that, but even if we approve it subject to legal review, then you won't go forward with that until that's completed as far as the announcement is concerned, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. In fact, I'd probably suggest that the recommendation for motion be amended to include upon legal review
Okay.
along those lines. If it was a few months ago, we just had all of our job descriptions had a light review from our HR consultants,
Mhm.
and that would have been opportune time for it. So a lot of this is kind of, scavenging from those two, especially the park supervisor and the rec supervisor forms. But I think it's wise to have it reviewed.
Thank you, Dan. Any other questions from the board?
With regards to the org chart, are those gray positions new positions, or will they be transferred over so that there will be people who were formerly reporting to Mark who would now be reporting to this new position?
Yeah, thanks, Scott, for bringing that up. So it got cut off on some of your cutout or on some of your printouts. So if you want to look at the full chart, it's up on the screen. It's on page 16.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's kind of a combo. I think some of those, the idea there was that there would be actually that whole block should probably be gray. We do have the rec specialist exists.
Mhm.
We do have a park maintenance too that's working over there. But I think I wanted to indicate on there that there would be opportunity for some more movement around there, that we haven't assigned which park maintenance to, maybe underneath this umbrella and so forth. And then the other ones that are in the rec coordinator, facility supervisor, I don't foresee that happening until we get further along, to have someone that's kind of, associated with this. Recreation leader, we already have staff that are doing that with camps and some other things. And they could be, I think, for example, our two rec supervisors right now are working real well with each other to have staff that can bounce between summer camps and then, some other programs. So I think that would be kind of a floating position. But I think that the other ones are, initially we would probably assign a rec specialist and probably 2 park maintenance twos.
Right, but this is just reassigning existing staff rather than hiring new staff to report to the new position.
Other than what I mentioned as far as the rec coordinator. So that would be some time down the road.
Okay, but I mean, in terms of this action in this fiscal budget, right? We're just talking about adding one full-time position and then reallocating other existing staff to report to the new hire.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
I
good.
wanted to make that clear.
Sure.
Okay. And as was said, that everything here came from staff, nothing here. I mean, it was submitted to personnel committee and they were not able to meet.
But we did solicit.
Right. Thought, but again, okay. I just wanted to understand that this was the first opportunity. I mean, I suppose it was a private opportunity, but that this had not previously been deliberated by directors until now.
Yeah, there's not a
Okay.
committee recommendation, and this would be a good place to kind of get that input for sure. I think one thing that's Mr. Stonebreaker, kind of I think where you're headed with it is kind of how we're thinking about it. We want to do this in increments. And so if we go out a year or two and we have revenue and it justifies that we're busy having, we need a weekend coordinator or something, then we'd look at it. But I think that would be the type of thing that we definitely would run through the board here, and we'll keep an eye on it. What's going to be, I think it's going to take some time for this to kind of fully mature as a position. And this person get a handle on it, but I think it does solve some, I would say, workload weight that's current in some parts of the organization.
That I understand that as the district has continued to acquire additional properties and facilities, it adds workload to our existing staff. So I can understand if, the park supervisor can only handle so many reports, and being able to shift possibly some of the maintenance staff under a different supervisor has merit. Oh, sorry, my mic was off there. I was going to say that as we have been acquiring more properties and facilities, that we need to have more maintenance staff, and the park supervisor can only handle so many reports. It makes sense to shift some of those to a new supervisor.
Well, I might as well chime in too. This is not a new idea. This idea has actually been sporadically contemplated off and on for the past year plus, to be honest with you. And I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but we have the need now. We have the need now for this type of position, quite frankly. We really do. And I like the idea that we're going to do this in increments, as we get more familiar with the relationship of this position and the programs and the facilities and that type of thing. Is there any other commentary from the board before I open it up to the public? Apparently not. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak to this agenda item this evening? Okay, well, hearing no one from the audience.
Mr. Chair, I did have one I guess, suggestion or request that you guys can help with a suggestion to me on, because I did mention upon Director Stonebreaker's question about the color boxes there. So, for example, the park assistant 2 is it's a reassigned position. So I'm curious if you have a suggestion on, should we color code what's existing, ignore the color codes altogether? I think the intention was to highlight, aspects of it that were kind of a shift within this area, but maybe that's not necessary. No. Or maybe it is. So just ask.
Well, if you want that as part of our action, you need to better explain what's existing, and as you contemplate that position, what's existing that would be under that position's supervision.
Yeah, it's basically what I would change if it's existing would be park maintenance 2, that box, but it says 3, 2, and 1. We wouldn't hire 3 right now. We'd reassign a 2. So it starts getting into, I think, a little bit more of a just too much text to do it. So that's why I'm wondering if maybe you could dispense with the whole idea of the gray position, other than the facility and event supervisor. That's new.
If a note could be made that other than the facility and event supervisor, those other gray boxes are subject to further action and not necessarily etched into our org chart.
So what the chart says at the bottom is gray means not filled or reassigned. So that's what I'm trying to get, why I was asking the question, that the uppermost position, the facility and event supervisor, is a position that would be created and is not currently filled. And then what we are being told is that the other positions, which would report to the facility and event supervisor, would be not yet reassigned, but likely to be reassignments rather than new hires. So understanding that these are like vacant boxes on the org chart because no current employee is filling that role, then I understand that. I just wanted to have everything made clear that these were likely to be reassignments. Possibly there would be the coordinator would be a new hire, and the other ones are likely to be reassignments. Is that just
No, I have to agree with that observation. Rather than adopt the org chart as part of our action tonight, we just adopt it with that concept in mind. And then at a later date, once the assignments are made or whatever, and a authorization to hire a new position is also underway, then you finalize the org chart to reflect that change and run that by the personnel committee just for their concurrence. That way, we've got a skeleton in place that you just operate under if we approve that tonight.
Yeah, and really our org chart, there's different ways we can do it. And we do have a functional one that's attached here too. I think in the future, one of the shifts that we had, yeah, thanks, Scott. I mean, it just shows like what there are functions in the organization, what the responsibilities are. But going back to the original org chart, we don't have FTE boxes, for example. This is more of an organizational reporting structure. And so, for example, it just shows that this facility and event supervisor could oversee those positions, how we have it envisioned. There's other parts of our organization chart on here. I mean, we had interns that say throughout, I think administrative assistant one, that's not a position that we have hired right now. We don't have intention of it, but that is a job description that's in our books. And so that's part of our reporting structure on there. So that's why I was suggesting, well, maybe if we have a new position that we're going through, of course, we'll come back to the board, but it's kind of as funding allows, as we have discretion, if we had any shift on here. One small example might be, let's say, for example, a administrative staff person left that was admin assistant 2. Well, we could hire 2 administrative assistant 1s, just gives us some flexibility. And there's the reporting structure, and they would report to the executive assistant. So anyway, that's sort of it's not a FTE chart, it's not a positions chart or numbers, it's more of a reporting structure.
What do you think of this idea? I mean, rather than us do the 3 actions you're recommending, we only do 2 of the 3 at this time. And then upon your successful recruitment and hiring of the new position, after that position's underway and after a reasonable period of time, you will know how you want to set up the organizational reporting facilities and just come back at that point in time and get that formally adopted, that type of thing.
If I understand what you're saying, that if we start filling in some of these things, we come back. We'd certainly fill on the board with that too. I would recommend that we adopt a org chart though tonight of some kind.
It can always be amended down the road.
Yeah, we can always
Yeah,
amend it.
I agree that if we're creating a new position, then the reporting hierarchy for that position should be formalized.
Actually, on the top, it says report organization chart. Maybe make it clear if we said reporting organizational chart. I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but I think that's his intention. This matches up with our job description on who reports to whom.
Well, and it's clear that the new position, if we approve the new position, it'll report directly to either the manager or the assistant manager.
Okay, we've had a lot of dialogue on this. What's the pleasure of the board? Need to entertain possibly an action?
I've made the last 2.
Would you like to amend the ordinance chart that was presented to us before we entertain an action on that specific item?
What you're asking me, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking staff. I, as just one member of this board, I'm comfortable with just calling this a reporting organizational chart, despite the fact there's gray blocks shown there and those description below, with the understanding that at a later date, we're gonna nail it down and further amend it, depending upon the outcome of the hiring process and who we actually hire and how that interaction takes place amongst that staff and other staff members. It just seems to me, it just it's logical to do. So
Okay.
if we have that understanding, then that would be my recommendation. We adopt the three actions asked of us, but with that slight change in the organizational chart.
Okay, so if we're going to do all of this with one motion, are we then modifying the recommended action to approve the job description pending legal review?
Yes, that's included. Yes.
Okay.
Sounds like you've almost entertained a motion, my friend.
Well, if we want to do all of this, I will move that we approve the new facility and event supervisor job description, subject to legal review, that we adopt the updated organizational chart, understanding that it's a skeleton, and that we also adopt the updated salary scale.
Second.
Okay, thank you, board members. Madam Clerk, we have a motion that's been made and seconded. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yeah, you said skeleton what?
Understanding that the updated organizational chart is a skeleton and we're not necessarily filling all of those positions at this time. I have to say all of that because it was sort of just in the previous dialogue, but
Can we maybe,
would you like me to make them?
well, I'm just wanting, maybe restate for Sarah's purpose.
Sure.
I was wondering about skeleton. I think it can be challenging. I know what you mean by it, but maybe we call it
Maybe
either
subject to
reporting,
change.
organization chart. I think, from our standpoint, I think there's going to be very keen interest from the board on, how this position plays out. So we'll report back on a regular basis, but
Might I suggest the motion be it and seconder amend the motion to change the word skeleton just to say conceptual or organizational chart with the understanding it's going to be final.
Understanding that it is
That-
subject
that-
to change.
I understand. I was a bit informal. So if that's a friendly amendment, I would approve that wording change.
I'll second the change.
Okay. So that I got the first one. Sorry, I'm like, I have.
that's
12
okay.
maybe
scripts.
if a restate or the chair could just.
Approve
Okay.
the updated organizational chart, understanding that it's conceptual. Everyone seems to be nodding.
And second.
All right, Director John Stonebreaker,
Aye.
Director Robert Anderson,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Steve Rodwick,
Aye.
and Chairperson Alma Green.
Aye.
Motion carries with 4 ayes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on, item 5.2, Campfire Recovery Project Aquatic Center bid acceptance. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the last step for our aquatic center. So aquatic rec center. So we have the building, it's been energized, happy to say. We need sidewalk and a few other requirements to get the town's sign off on it for occupancy. So that's includes landscaping, ADA parking, paving of the parking area, and then a sidewalk connection to the pool. So these are quotes that were solicited. And by the way, if you have an old packet, ignore that packet. We have a revised report that talks about our policy is per $25,000 and more. And then the 3 bids that were attached. Just a couple of things on that. We have some of the steps here on what's possible for board action on it. But we recommend acceptance of the lowest bid, which is from JT Martin Construction or Martin Construction.
So again, I just would like to clarify that even though the 3 bidders wrote up the scope of work rather differently, these are all apples to apples comparisons.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And-
They were provided site plans and information on it. So they just may have different nomenclature, but it's the same project essentially.
Yeah, it was actually useful because different bidders specified different aspects of the scope of work. So by synthesizing all of that, I got a better understanding of the work that was to be done.
And by the way, thank you, staff, for regenerating the additional information, which was not originally part of the packet. So we got that in hopefully a timely manner in electronic
Yeah.
form.
well, Thanks for
I
letting us
don't know
know.
if we got printed form tonight, but it doesn't matter. We all got it electronically. So
Yes.
I just want to make that clear for the record. Hopefully, Robert, you acknowledge that too. You got it.
Has legal looked at this? At these?
They don't typically look at the bids, they look at our process and then contracting. So we'll have the contracts reviewed by legal.
Because the first one doesn't mention prevailing wage. The other two do. The second one doesn't mention grinding the pavement and around the drain. And the third one seems to cover it all.
Yeah, so they were provided as prevailing wage jobs. And we can certainly verify that with the
Martin?
bidder on it with Martin, but yeah, these are put to them as these are government prevailing wage jobs on it. They're given the same scope, the same set of
Mhm.
plans. So I think it's just how they characterized it. If there's some questions you have, we could certainly run it by them, make sure it's complete.
Well, I just, for me, it's reassuring to see that they're all in the same ballpark. With the county, we've seen bids that were, 70% off, what engineers estimate, or even higher. So these look realistic.
They look too low to me. That's a lot of work. What are we voting on?
Did you have anything else, Robert, you wanted to add to that?
Well, I like that they're all locals.
Okay, that's good.
Paradise and Magalia.
Yeah. That is positive. I'm kind of curious, and this is not to put you on the spot, Dan, because I don't think you will know until this thing's underway and it's finalized and everything, but you probably haven't got a clue as to what percentage of the overall cost that our insurance is going to cover at this point in time.
On these, a fair amount, because these are code requirements. So ADA parking, that's gonna be a code requirement. There were, if you recall, the aesthetics of the old building, not a whole lot of landscaping around it, on the perimeter, but not on the front, for example. So,
Yeah, why did it burn?
yeah, why did it burn? But that's again, a code requirement that would be subject to insurance. And then I think the fact that the condition of the existing parking with the construction, there's probably some split in there, but I think out of this dollar amount, the majority will be from insurance proceeds on it. But I can't give you that dollar
Right.
amount.
I did walk this perimeter of the building. It's going to be quite a nice facility. It seems like it's 50% bigger than the previous one, at
It's
least.
bigger, yeah. Better and bigger, yeah, for sure. Okay. Any further dialogue? Yeah.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, these were all lump sum quotes. So like county will get, Public Works especially will get quotes where they specify the amount of their overall bid that's going to each line item. And we're not getting that here. If it was all coming from insurance or all coming from district funds, that wouldn't matter so much. But if it turns out that some items are covered by insurance and some items are coming from district funds, then it does sort of matter how much of each bid is coming, is being spent in a way that is going to be covered and how much is going to be covered by us. But just clarifying that the bidders did not submit that sort of line items that's, this many dollars per square foot of asphalt. Okay.
I think that's also that sits in it's a substantial amount of funds, but I think for a lot of contractors, this is a relatively small job. And so usually we get an NTE, not to exceed amount on there. And I think that's why these were probably that lump sum, just because it wasn't worth them doing the math on it.
Understood. Yeah, I wasn't initially surprised that there was a lump sum rather than a line item. This is not like a $10 million Public Works contract.
Any more dialogue amongst the board? At this point in time, we'll open it up to the floor. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak to this agenda item? Item 5.2. Hearing no input from the attendees, we'll ask the board now to bring it back to the board and let's entertain a possible action, please.
I want to say that I was impressed by the integrity that JT Martin showed standing up for the reputation of this town and the licensed builders here. And I think that if something goes awry, he'll make sure that it's made right for the users of the facility and won't cheap out on us. So I would like to move that we accept the lowest bid as presented.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay. Madam Clerk, we have a motion that's been made and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Director John Stonebreaker,
Aye.
Director Robert Anderson,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson C. Roderick,
aye.
and Chairperson Alma Green. Motion carries with 4 ayes.
Thank you. Moving on. Next item on,
District.
district report. Staff, you want to lead us on that discussion, please?
Yeah, I'm going to be very brief on this. So there's a pretty decent sized report starting on page 33. A lot of details, a busy time of year for us. A lot of great pictures, especially some of the before and after on especially some of the fuel work. And then just the variety of programs that we're having right now. There's just a lot going on. And each one of those has a bit of a story behind it that's especially the ones people out in nature there have a lot of stories there. So, I'm going to be exceedingly brief on that, but I will point you to, what's that? Yeah. So we'll have a good update here with the recreation, and that's on the next page or page 34. I just wanted to bring up something before we hit that on project development. So we're working through the pre-qualification process that's been noticed. And Sarah, I don't know if you could share anyone's submitted anything yet. I suspect we're going to get that all at the very end. That will come back before the board to validate that list. I'm thinking that's going to be probably a September meeting for that. I think we got a pretty good update on Lake Ridge. There was some of the items there, including some of the veg work and just advancing on some of the architectural work related to it, coordination with PG&E on utility corridors and so forth. We're still working through a bit on the position of the playfield, which we would love to have situated between CHIP housing area and ours. There may be some regulatory challenges on that from the funder. We have a plan B if that doesn't happen. So we'll keep you posted on that, but we'd love to have, as I put it, just a grassy field rather than a monument to bureaucracy with a weedy field there. So,
Pardon me. When you say the funder,
Yeah.
we're talking about CHIPS funder?
CHIPS funder.
Right.
Yeah. The HCD.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make that clear that it wasn't the state parks who are having these
No,
problems.
not at all. In
Right.
fact, they're very supportive of it, and we've been keeping them abreast of the changes here. And they like the concept a lot. And Chip does too. We like it. It's just going to depend on how it shakes out with the original funder and their reading of certain rules.
The red tape manufacturers are.
Yes. Yeah. Someone has to look at the red tape. I already gave you a pretty good update on the aquatic rec building. And then one thing I will note is we anticipate probably next month, our shop project has progressed from that conceptual kind of master planning stage to where we're going to bring it back to the next monthly meeting to re-up the construction and design phase with the North Star. So originally this was set up in 2 stages, primarily for the insurance purposes. We had kind of I would say site plan approach, conceptual plan, so we could share that with insurance company, make sure everybody's on the same page. We've gone through some of the costs. The engineering firm can size up the project and get a good understanding of it, and then give us a robust quote, I won't say quote, a contract amount that not to exceed that would be for the next phase. So that'll be coming up at the September meeting we're anticipating.
Well, what you just pointed out, is that independent of the land use entitlement that needs still to be processed
yes,
with the
yeah,
town,
Yeah,
right?
so the town, we're at the stage now, that North Star is submitting the preliminary plans and with the town right now, we'll be paying our application fee here shortly.
This is not the official use permit application, it's a preliminary review.
Preliminary
All right,
review.
there's a
right.
big difference. Okay. All right.
So, but I just want to give you kind of like where we're on the process with the architect and the engineer. So that'll be coming back for the next step. Another thing coming up will be, we're working with HRCBA folks. We'll be meeting with them in the next HRCBA, Honey Run Covered Bridge Association. Our two ad hoc committee members, Director McGreen and Director Roderick, have been attending at least one meeting we had. And so we'll be following up here shortly with them, bringing back an agreement that I think will share with the ad hoc committee. Maybe it's just an informal review, and then we'll bring it back to the full board with a report and then a potential MOU with them. So that's probably September, maybe October's meeting. And Scott, are you ready to give a little rec review?
Threaten me with a good time here. When I say drop.
Hit preview?
Yeah,
Play button.
well, hit preview and then hit play. Oh, pause. Okay, good. That's good. We'll get there. Might need to do a little volume adjustment there. I might be back for that. Hello, everyone. This is the joy of my year, is standing up in front of you and reporting that we had thousands of hours with these children collectively and no stitches. Thank you, Al. The program, that must be it. I'll take that into consideration for next year. You haven't seen the slideshow yet. What you're going to see now is 2 minutes and 30 seconds of some very, very hard work. You're going to see a lot of joy on their faces. What you're not going to see are the hours and hours of training that the staff went through. Specifically, I don't know if you all remember earlier in the year or late in last year, we did the wilderness first aid training, and we did a whole bunch of other wraparound training for the staff so that this becomes a flagship program, not just for Paradise Parks and Rec, but for the expanded learning program in all of Northern California. So the head of the expanded learning is a dear friend of Outdoor Education for All, and thus for here at the Parks and Rec Department. We will be presenting on the success of this program at next year's Expanded Learning Conference, which is right down here at the BMU in Chico. And there's discussions about a keynote from yours truly regarding the success of this program, in that it is potentially one of our flagships. So enjoy. And Sarah, if you'll go full screen, let's do it.
Down on here, I think that's fine.
I think so. If you've seen The Odyssey or Spider-Man, it's in that category. So here we go.
I hopped off the plane in LAX with a dream, my cardigan. Welcome to the land of fame excess, and my guns are fit in. So jump, pick up, here I am, rhythm sign. Look to my right, and I see the Hollywood sign. This is so great. Everybody's so famous. My tummy's turning and I'm feeling kind of homesick. Too much pressure and I'm nervous. It's when the taxi banks turn on the radio and the Jay-Z song was on. And the Jay-Z song was on. And the Jay-Z song was on. So I put my hand to play on my phone, butterflies fly away. Nodding my head like yeah. Moving my hips like yeah. Put my hand to play on my phone. I'm gonna be okay. Yeah. Party in the USA. Yeah. It's a party in the USA. Get to the club in my taxi cab. Everybody's looking at me now. Like, who's that chick that's rocking kicks? Gotta be from out of town. So hard, my girls on around me. It's definitely not a Nashville party. Cause all I see is the letters. I guess I forgot the memo. My tummy's spinning and I'm feeling kind of homesick. Too much pressure and I'm nervous. It's when the DJ on my fingertips. The Britney song was on. And the Britney song was on. And the Britney song was on. So I put my hand to play. Oh, butterflies fly away. Not in my head like it. Like it. Okay. Yeah. Party in the USA. Party in the USA. Like jumping on the fly. My whole destiny. That stops me every time. The DJ plays my song and I'm
The 70 millimeter IMAX film is much better. As Scott's walking up, I'm watching this, Scott, and this is a snapshot or snapshots of a summer, and yet there's probably 4 years in the making of getting to this point. So I think it's representative of a lot of work that goes behind the scenes to set this up, but also it's wonderful to see outcomes of those smiling faces. So
Yeah.
very nice.
You know what this serves at, thank you everyone for watching it. It serves as, I think, a connection point. It's really hard to demonstrate for you all unless you're out there sweating with us with the little boogers coming out of it. There's a lot that goes into the heat and collaborating with them out there. What I also want to mention is while you're watching all of this go down, there were about 15 different sites that you saw right there. I don't know if you noticed, but there's everything from the Chico Science Museum, Turtle Bay, the Reading Water Park, Paradise Lake, the Four Bay Aquatic Center, soon to be Centerville School. Like we can just, with this program, we can do what I think Parks and Rec departments are supposed to do. Build a site, program it with a great partner, and then do it year after year and make it better and bigger. So while this was happening, the rest of that packet was also happening, which is really something to say. We had an amazing summer. It felt like staff in general hit a clip across even our micro departments inside the rec, working with, or the camps, working with the pool staff, working with maintenance to make sure that everything, that they weren't mowing and blowing at the same place that we were also going to be there. It was a masterful orchestration, and shout out to everybody that helped us pull it off. So thank you, everybody.
And refresh our memories. This is an annual program that we do over how many weeks during the summer?
I'm glad you asked, Al. This is part of a 2-year program that we now have. We've started to set the precedent of 2-year contracts. We're contracted with Spring Valley for next summer as well, which really helps with staff development, and it helps with the X's and O's of just making the program better, 1% every day. This is a $50,000 contract for 3 weeks worth of work. Then staff take a week to go work Camp Courage, which is a completely separate camp that faces the public. Then they have 3 more weeks of work before another Camp Courage. So they are, what you don't see are their exhausted, sunburnt faces. And boy, they worked hard for it this year.
One thing that I'll say, Golden Feather's been very
Yes, they have.
great to work with. And I think one thing that, what would the slideshow look like if we weren't involved? I think would be very thin, because they have challenges with their staff. They don't have staff that's going to, that needs their summers off. And so they didn't have a very deep bench for it. So we're able to come through with some considerable enthusiasm with our staff and keeping members busy, our staff members busy. but Scott points out a big point is we have this year to year, we can retain staff. We have a game plan rather than going into next spring and going like, I'm not sure if this is going to go or not. So it helps build maintain our capacity that we've built over the last few years.
And these are largely Concow, Eastern Butte Valley youth,
They're all Concow.
all Concow.
That's
All
what I was gonna
Concow.
ask. Is it
Yeah,
PRPD
because
district
This
or
is great
Golden
because, I'm not as much as Robert, but I've been in Concow a long time. There's not a lot of activities for kids other than the pool. And this is great.
So one of the things, thank you, Director, for bringing that up. From an expanded learning perspective, this has outcomes that stretch throughout the year. By allowing these students to have a place to go during the summer, they're not at a lot of other places, which in this instant also allows for social services to be delivered, as well as one of the big things that the schools get funding for are average daily attendances. And this is a game changer for them because they can double dip in the expanded learning. They have a certain set of standards that they have to meet, 7:30 to 4:30 every day. And that's how we build the contract. But because the students are also in a learning environment, it changes their ADA. So they recover thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars because it boosts their average daily attendance back up, which is a very, very big deal. It was such a big deal that the superintendent from Berry Creek reached out to us and wants to partner with us next year, as well as 2 of the other charter schools. So our issue now is that we've got like 4 charter schools that want to do this with us. So some of them will keep it in-house. Achieve does it in-house, but they don't have like Dan said, what they can do at Achieve with their in-house person is completely different than when they partner with a group like us, and it opens up what the program can do. So it's a differentiator for that school. Achieve has an in-house person. CCCS has an in-house person. Both of them are aware of what we do here. So we can also piecemeal this out, meaning they don't have to buy the whole turkey. They can just get a leg. If they only want to do Paradise Lake with us or any of our other summer programming, they can buy a la carte, if you would.
So this is the end result of almost 4 years of effort.
Well, Dan said 4 years, but I ran the first Camp Courage at Spring Valley in 2018. So this model is the evolution of Camp Courage that was then expanded into an entire expanded learning program. And we could not do this without the vans. The vans are the lifeblood of the program.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind about that. And that's something I've been sporadically talking to Dan. I'd like to see us increase the fleet eventually because they're not going to last forever, just the 2 that we have. We do use them a lot.
We do.
But that's a side issue.
Look at the smiling faces when I come up with that.
Why I was seeing 2 PRPD vans at Concow Pool.
Yeah, going the speed limit on the way there and on the way back.
Sometimes.
Driving safely and
We
carefully.
obeying all traffic laws, right?
All traffic laws.
Keep an eye on them.
And I'm a little cheeky about that, but those vans were moving all summer. If you saw them around town, I mean, we all day. They're driving all over, so it's really neat.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us this evening. I'm sure the other board members appreciate it as well. Good job, you and the staff and everyone involved, quite frankly. And welcome back, Sarah. Anyway, what else do you have to share under recreation? Anything tonight or?
The other really exciting thing is we've rekindled a relationship with Little Red Hen, which is a very special group out of Chico. They really appreciated our birding experience in that the Altacal Society stopped offering direct guides, but they did send us a scholarship. So that scholarship then paid for the Little Red Hen experience up at Paradise Lake, which is a big circle of gooey good. And we expect that to follow forth in coming years. Altacal sends us $1,000 a year for scholarships for that type of thing. So we're just a gooey mess of awesome right now in rec. It's been awesome. Director?
Little,
Is
little quick.
Colquitt Lake allowing non-motorized boats yet?
We'll direct that to the new facilities director. That is not,
I can say something on that. We're working with them. That's actually probably another MOU that's coming our way. The AI version of it, we were made aware of that the AI, Google's AI, said that swimming is allowed and kayaking is allowed at the lake. We were sent that information, total fabrication, and actually probed around like where it got. I queried Gemini where it got that information, and it was a
Well, it's
hallucination.
probably the fact that they're actually doing it.
It cited
There's
some
a lot of
information that was just not
Kayaks
true.
and canoes
Yeah,
out there
yeah.
right now, and people are swimming in where the creek comes in. They swim there, but we got to make it legal or something.
Thank you, Scott.
Oh, well,
Thanks, Scott.
real quick, Scott, is our astronomy at the lake sold out for this Saturday night?
Al, you know how to ask him right there. So we have an astronomy on the lake specifically for Rotarians on Friday night. There's a half a dozen folks showing up for that. And then on Saturday night, there are 27 people bringing their own kayaks, and there are 17 people renting kayaks from us. We have ourselves a winner, folks, which is great news. There are 4 more of them. Excuse me. What month is it? There's 2 more of them after this. We do it until October. So don't miss out.
Be safe out there in the dark.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to be there. It's my wife's birthday, but it's going to be great anyways. Yes. And thank you, everyone. Anything else for the rec department for the summer? It's been a great summer. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
That's a good positive note to finish on, unless there's any other questions on the materials we have in the packet. I would have you look at some of the before and after pictures of what our maintenance crew did. Pretty impressive on some of those. And then the one thing I was going to add that kind of bridges the two, rec and our parks team worked really well this summer. There were a lot of moving parts, and we just had a lot of good coordination, and seemed like communication was up at a good level this last year. So just want to kind of call that out. I know that these programs couldn't be done without our maintenance staff setting it up and making sure we had space. And there were recent weeks, there's been some creativity on the building being very busy and us having to shuffle some things around. So everyone played nicely with each other. It's nice to see.
Very good. Does that conclude district report? It does, doesn't it? Okay. Next item on tonight's agenda is board comments. We do this every month. We'll start with Director Anderson. Do you have anything to share with the rest of the board relative to things you've been involved with that has pertinence to our district?
I can't think of anything this month.
How about Director Rodaway?
I got a couple things. They fall under the file of suggestions. As I told Dan earlier, we could probably redistribute some of the picnic tables throughout the district to where they might be more accommodating to people, specifically at the end of the Paradise Lake Trail, where there's a porta potty and a trash can. I think a picnic table would be much appreciated by people who make the trek to the end of the road, in addition to other locations throughout the district where we might have an overabundance of underused picnic tables at one portion of the park where they could be maybe better utilized as opposed specifically Upper Billy Park. There's plenty. Lower Park, there's 2 next to the playground there, and they're usually taken. So just food for thought with regard to distribution of the picnic tables. And the second item I had was prompted. I was having lunch at the duck pond, and 2 preteens, fully helmeted, on their e-bikes, zipping around doing wheelies on the walking path around the duck pond. I was prompted me to think about if we should maybe take to the Park and Rec Committee an e-bike policy. because they're only going to get more popular and more powerful. And we are going to be creating a bike facility that we should probably have some e-bike rules in place for those who want to partake. Just, you know, they're powerful and they might not mix well with regular muscle power bikes.
I've heard what's going on with the e-bikes, and we need a hospital up here.
Anything else? Director Rowe?
That's it.
Well, in relation to that comment you shared about e-bikes, Steve, I can share this. There is some legislation introduction through the legislature. Some bills underway that are being monitored by CARPID, which is our Association of Park and Rec Districts. And once we see the end result of the legislative session, we'll find out which of those bills survive and which of them may or may not become law. But because of the popularity of e-bikes, that's what's caused so many bills to be introduced this session. And there's going to be a need for restrictions of various types, that type of thing. So we'll have to just keep that in mind even if we do progress forward on creating our own rules, we got to make sure that we're compatible with the laws, whatever they are, as they get adopted, that type of thing. Director Stonebreaker, do you have anything to share this evening that you've been involved with that has pertinence to the district?
Oh, yeah. So I was going to say that I've had too many medical appointments since our last board meeting, and since our hospital was set on fire, those have unfortunately been in the valley where I am always parched because there's not enough shade. On one of those occasions, I did pass Director Roderick riding my own e-bike. Managed to avoid him and his stroller. And the importance of shade was also very much noted when I attended the Paradise Elementary School ribbon cutting. There were hundreds of people there. Most of them who arrived early got to stand or sit under the shade canopies, and a bunch of us were baking on the concrete. It was good to see how many people turned out and which districts sent senior staff. Was happy to be there as a liaison and also had a good interaction with one of the school board trustees and have a date set up with him to go look at one of their underutilized properties in Magalia as regards to them possibly wanting to surplus the property and also the way in which it has been maintained over the years. So I, again, always have far too many things going on. Many of my agencies did not meet in July, and yet I've managed to wear myself quite thin.
Do you have anything to share relative to the Upper Ridge Coordinating Council
We, again, also did not meet in July.
Oh, they did not. Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you. All right, last but not least, hopefully, I'll just make this quick, but since our last regular board meeting, which was in July on the 8th, I've been involved with, I participated with a district in the Town of Paradise Liaison Committee meeting, which we had on July the 14th. That was very helpful. Unfortunately, only one of the council members attended rather than two, I believe. But as part of that committee meeting, we toured the PCC with them. And I thought that was very helpful in a lot of ways. On the 21st of July, our Rec and Park Committee met, and you folks already know about that. You saw the report on that. And thank you, Robert, for bringing verbally up some of the things that we encountered with the charter school folks and everything. On July 30th, in my capacity as a member of CARPID's board, I serve on their legislative committee, and it's been quite an experience. But we had a ledge committee meeting on the 30th of July, and we spent an hour and a half on a Zoom meeting going over a myriad of bills and things like that. And it's very difficult not to lose my cool because of what some of the stuff that's introduced is just unbelievable. You know, there's a lot of political shenanigans going on at the upper level of our state government. But anyway, suffice it as it is. And then last but not least, I attended in my role as a commission member on Butte LAFCO. We met on August the 6th. We had a very light meeting, but there were some important things that we addressed. Long overdue. We adopted some updated policies and procedures for Butte LAFCO as well as administrative policies. And that's all I have to report. So I think we've reached the point, folks, where we can actually declare the meeting adjourned. So thank you one and all for coming this evening, and stay as cool as you can during the summer. Thank you.